This is a UFO news update related to Haim Eshed, who is a former Israeli aerospace scientist and professor. He used to be in charge of Israel's space security and was a general in Israel's military intelligence. He did come out a month or two ago, it was in December, with a new book, which I just put up. It was only released in Hebrew. Now, the Epilogue has been translated into English by a gentleman named Ido Shimoni. And he translated this for UFO investigator Linda Moulton-Howe, who I have interviewed. Now, Haim Eshed became a worldwide known name because he claimed something that former Canadian Minister of Defense Paul Hellyer also claimed to me in an interview in 2017, that there is allegedly a galactic federation of aliens that is, I guess, some type of non-human beings that are not of this earth and are involved in some type of trade with humans, yet they don't want to be announced yet because they don't believe humanity is ready to accept that human beings are interacting with other intelligences yet. Eshed also said that President Trump was aware of this, but was told not to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. So what I'm going to be covering here in the translation of the Epilogue, he actually gave more detail of information he obtained as Israel's head of space security. And the reason he's coming out about all this is because he's very well respected. He's old. He has nothing to lose. He's probably not saying anything that he's signed orders about that he's not allowed to release. So he's coming out with all this information, and I'm going to go over as briefly as I can some of the information that was translated from his epilogue. He started off by talking about the various type of close encounters. We did know about some of the various types of the first, second, third, and fourth encounters popularized by J. Allen Hynek's 1972 book, The UFO Experience, where Hynek had already said the first kind is a visual sighting of a UFO. The second kind is a UFO that is observed to have landed on the ground on Earth. The third kind is an encounter where an occupant of a UFO is visible in the craft. The fourth kind is an encounter where the aliens actually kidnap a human being, in other words, an abduction. Then Professor Eshed, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name right, Eshed or Eshed, he added a fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth kind. Professor Eshed in his epilogue states that the fifth kind is when an autopsy of a dead extraterrestrial being is performed. And then the sixth, seventh, and eighth kind all have to do with the emergence of UFOs outside of Earth. The sixth kind is an observation of a UFO within Earth's orbit. The seventh kind is testimonies of astronauts from the Apollo program who have witnessed UFOs in the lunar sky. And finally, the eighth type of close encounter, Eshed says, is a UFO taken elsewhere, UFO photo taken elsewhere in the solar system, such as a planet like Mars. So he went on to talk about some instances of UFO crashes that he was made aware of through his work in the Israeli government. So I'm going to discuss some of them because some of them have to do with the United States, which is my main audience of this channel. First, he talked about a craft that allegedly crashed at Commerce Point in Arizona in the Grand Canyon near Comanche Point, Arizona in 1994, where a group of investigators were called to investigate a craft lying on the canyon floor that was estimated to be 4,000 years old. The investigators who arrived on the scene were scientists with high security clearances. They estimated the craft was 50 feet wide and 68 feet long. It was in good condition despite the craft. It was made of extremely light metallic fibers. The type of metal used was not known. The craft still admitted low energy levels, and carbon tests done on the material showed it had been stuck in the sand since 200 BC. So it was clear the source of the vehicle was extraterrestrial. The internal structure of the craft showed that the alien crew were human-like, short and oxygen breathing. The vehicle was operated by approximately 12 to 20 alien beings. The power source appeared to be nuclear. The navigation system was magnetic. The craft had spaces for food and water. Tests showed that the alien crew members likely left the crash vehicle after landing and lived in the area for a few years. There are cave paintings in the area showing figures of strange men with spherical heads. The implication there being that southwest rock paintings, some of them, could be linked to UFOs and ET presence from a long time ago, maybe as long ago as 200 BC. The second crash he went to talk about was in Kiev, in the Ukraine. UFO investigators following World War II were investigating ruins at a depth of 18 to 20 feet underground and found a very strange craft that was shaped like an arrow. It was cylinder. It was 9 to 16 feet in diameter, 16 to 19 feet in length, silver with no markings on it. The back of the craft was torn up. It appeared that it had the shape of an arrow, but there was various connections of it missing. The army was called to check to see what it was. Initially, they thought it could have been a missile from a hostile country. However, the craft was secretly taken to a base near Moscow in a suburb, where it was revealed through tests that it was 3,000 to 5,000 years old. And it turns out this craft had actually been discovered in the late 19th century. But at the time, the people that found it could not successfully get it out of the ground. The governor of Kiev at the time was ordered by authorities to inspect the object, but he didn't want to take responsibility for it, so nothing further was done at that time. In the post-World War II tests, it was revealed what was found was a section of a cockpit, which means that it appeared to be an aircraft. The rear of the craft, where the engine likely would have been, was not found. The source of the vessel was not of Earth. 2 seats were found in it that were small, suitable for people that would have been about 4 feet tall. It contained sophisticated equipment that included a control board that had captions found on the board. And through various tests, it was concluded that this was some type of ancient Sanskrit language on the board. The final crash that the professor, former general, mentions in his epilogue of his book is a 1968 crash in Timmensdorf, Germany, near the Soviet Union border, close to the Baltic Sea, where he says a UFO crashed that was shaped like a disc that was 100 feet in diameter, with a third of it still stuck in the ground. And he claims 12 bodies were found inside. The bodies were photographed and identified by authorities. They were gray in color, and they were transported for autopsies. Some of the bodies did not appear to have reproductive organs, and the bodies appeared to have actually been clones, as the organs did not appear to belong to beings that had digestive or excretion systems. So they couldn't have digested any food that we know of by the autopsies. The UFO was allegedly dismantled into 6 parts and transferred to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. The whole revelation about this is there has been some alien interaction in the 21st century, not by organic prime intelligences, but by artificial intelligences, as the professor is basically saying here that these were actually clones found in this vehicle. Okay, so then we get into 3 photographs, which I'm not going to show the third, but I'll show the first 2. These were taken from Mars rovers that the professor puts in his book. So here is the first photograph from the Mars rover. The lander Curiosity took this photograph on August 19th, 2016, where there is a hill that the professor points out is a different color than the ground, with an edge on the right section of the hill seemingly unrelated to the flow of the hilltop. There is a round structure-like object at the top with a pit in the middle, making it appear to be a fortress-like structure. For the texture of the mound itself, it's different than the texture of the soil of Mars around it. The ground is flat and rocky, yet the mound is sandy and appears to be stacked about 65 feet high. The mound is very dark in relation to its environment. The summit of the mound does not conform to the lines around the mound. The top appears to have been placed on the hill. The interior of the top is hollow and spacious. There is no sign of dust accumulation, indicating that the mound is young in geological times, perhaps only about a couple thousand years old. He says future astronauts going to Mars should have some type of archaeology training so they could know more about this type of thing. The other Mars picture that the former general puts in his epilogue is this photo taken by the Martian SUV Spirit, where he points out a rock that's been cut in its full width, as if a slice of rock has been removed from it to form a passageway. He says this is not the type of cut that can be caused by natural weathering, and he believes tools would have been required to make the cut in this rock. So there you go, a lot more information on this Professor Eshed's research into UFOs. And keep in mind, this is not a crazy guy from a trailer in Tennessee. He was the aerospace scientist who used to be in charge of space security for Israel and was general in Israeli military intelligence.